Okay, I think about as little as I believe I was 4 when I started noticing little black shadows, and or the first thing I can remember was I was 4 and me and my parents were living with my grandmother and my aunts and uncles. We were walking outside and there was this guy standing, this boy about my age just sitting there, and I remember he always walked down the street and I had no idea. There was always a shaggy dog, the sheepdog, one of them sheepdogs, and would I always would see it with the dog. And months later, I was asking somebody. I kept telling my mom I see this little boy out there, redheaded boy, and I was having dreams of this kid, dreams of knowing this kid, you know. So the sheepdog, I found out was belonged to a husband and wife whose son passed away, and they told me that he was a redhead, and he always just sit on top of this block where down the street from where I live at, and they said he died about 5 years ago, and the mother kind of cried and she goes, "How would you know that?" I said, "I had no idea. I just remember he always called me, cause I always was up at night because these people would call me, and I wake up. And when I was younger, it used to scare me, it used to startle me, because I didn't know why they were coming to me. So I remember the redheaded kid. His name was Billy. He died. He drowned. And I vaguely remember hearing about what happened to him, but it was always nighttime, so he didn't look. He was always real far away. He was always standing where I just can see him, but not enough to where I can figure out if he's a ghost or not. But I was 3 when I started seeing him. There's actually a picture of me staring at the shaggy dog. I call it shaggy dog because from the movie, but it's a sheepdog. And the sheepdog always came to me, and his mother said she used him to go to people, especially kids. And she always came to me, and I would pet the dog. And that's one of the earliest experiences I had of being what you call the sewers. And and every once in a while I'll see a sheepdog, and it'll remind me of Billy. He told me to call him Bill. But I was having dreams of this kid. Like me and him were like playing in the yard and stuff like that. And then when I was about 6, I believe 6, I remember seeing a horned crab-like creature down where my cousin Melody, my aunt, down. They have a little table with a nice lamp on it. One of the lamps that you push, it has 3 stages of lights. The lights were off. And I was sitting there playing with a toy, and I was listening to my Walkman. And I remember it coming out to grab me, and it had a smirk on his face. Because at the time I had fear of crabs. And it looked like Darth Maul. It literally looked like Darth Maul from the Rebels cartoon when he had spider legs. It looked like that. That's another event I remember happening. And then when I was about 7, I was sleeping, and I remember waking up, I saw a doppelganger. It looked like me, but it had a contorted face, and it was a pillar-looking version of me, but dark. Almost like I'll post a picture. It looked like Yoda from Yoda's when he was going to the Forest planet. It looked like a dark version of me with its face contorted and had like spider eyes. It had horns, like Darth Maul. And that side was crawling up a wall and making funny faces at me. But his eyes were like real black. They weren't. But I remember when I seen these 2 Juja, I remember they weren't fully wet, red. They were black and red, and it had a neon, like bright light kind of color to it. Like it was unnatural looking. I don't remember smells. I remember it feeling very hot. I remember these days usually it was really cold in these days when this happened. the chariot. I was 6 when that happened. I was walking up to my mom and dad. I used to sleep. Uh, I used to sleep in the same bed with them when I was little. Because of what I was seeing, the voices out. Because I would hear these people saying, like the Billy Boy. How that first happened was, I kept hearing somebody say, "Hey Charles, hey Charles, hey it's Billy." I wake up and I could see him in my face. And at first it startled me because I'm like, why am I seeing strange people that I had never seen? And what happened in like the picture that I showed, I showed you, it basically had, I was sleeping, I woke up, which usually happens at night. I wake up and usually hear a voice. And somebody was gesturing me to do this, like a come here gesture. As I walked in there, I remember floating, and I remember the next day I was in my bed, like nothing happened. Every once in a while, I can remember what was told to me, I remember one of them looking like one of the aliens from Cocoon, and her name was Blinky, and she didn't speak like with her mouth, she spoke telepathically to me. It wasn't, that's why I said I didn't hear her. It was like she was saying, I'm 1,000 years old. She was, your ancestors come from a great line of other, she referred to it as other ground people, she said. Planetarians, what she referred to it as. What you people call Earth. She was, there was millions of Earths, thousands of Earths. And it comes and goes, and then she would show me pictures of every event that happened on this planet. She showed me the dinosaurs, what happened to them, and stuff like that. Most stuff happened as a kid that I seen, and then spurts as I got older. Now I remember when I was 10, made a couple friends. They had a Ouija board, and one of the older kids, we were sitting there in the woods, and they summoned a demon, which I know was called a Druas. But it didn't happen like in the movies where it comes up out of the ground. They literally came from a shadow, like in Ghost. There's literally a shadow, and it came up like that, like in the movie Ghost. And they were black and red. There's a show called Charmed. Bellazzard, what they exactly look like in the face. Black face, black and red face, ears, but Bellazzard didn't have horns. That's what it looked like. And most of us couldn't move, like we were all paralyzed with fear besides me. I kind of was intrigued. And it was a guy and a girl. And the girl had hair, but her horns were coming out differently. Her horns, she had like maybe 3. The man had 7. And they were long horns. And I can't remember their names, but they referred to themselves as that they said they wanted to take over, something like that. And the one kid there was a Sargus, and it was speaking through her, and she was speaking, and her eyes were on the back of her head. So that kind of freaked me out, scared me. Okay. Then when I was about 11, I was in my room listening to music, and there was a man sitting there. And he literally went into the light, and there's this hand that came down, and it was coming down the light, and it was waving to me. And I looked, no one was up. Everyone was asleep but me. And I noticed, one thing I noticed about these spiritual things that happen to me is I'm always woken up first. It's never happened to me as I'm sitting. It's always when I wake up, or I'm asleep and I wake up. It's always because it's like they get me when I'm asleep, which I know it was in the OahspeCollegeUniversity it talks about usually they come when you're asleep because that's when you're most relaxed. 90% of the time when I see a spirit or I see something, I'm awoken only the truth is when I'm not asleep. It's usually when I'm, and I remember the day when I usually see them, I'm upset. I'm in a bad mood usually. And I can remember when I lived in a place called Snowden, there was a graveyard there, and it did have a mouth and an eyeball engraved into the tree, and no human being could have done that. And there's always been really strange things happening there. When I was 6, there was we called them Men in Black. They were there. Me and my friend Carrie saw 2 men, one with a top hat, one without a top hat, and their hands looked elongated. And she said they're picking up cats and dogs and other animals. And I remember seeing one of them, and they have this thing about smirking at people. Or the children with black eyes. Yes, I saw children with black eyes down the graveyard. Me and a couple friends were sitting out there, and we saw these 2 kids. And I'm thinking they had sunglasses on at first. It's like, no, they have black eyes. And my friend said, "Do you just see that stuff?" And we all were like freaking out. What the heck is that about? They just came over, smirked, walked away. And I usually walk the graveyards because it kind of relaxes me. And if you ever seen movies like Man of Steel, the scene where he hears like voices, that's what it's like that. It's kind of unnerving at first. And I'm walking, and I saw the yak, and it was limping. I looked, and it put its head back up, and there was a female, and she kept limping really bad. And about a day later, there's this guy he always wore, this was in the 80s, he always wore these blue jean vests, and he always smoked. He was talking about seeing some Bigfoot, and he shot it with his 9mm. No one believed him because people say he was hooked up on drugs, but he kept saying it. No, seriously. I said, well, I saw it, and there was a couple people were giving him a hard time about it, and about a month later, we had an old elderly black man who was sitting on his porch and rocking a chair back and forth, and he said, and using my babysitters, I had a babysitter at the time when I was 6 or 7, and he's sitting there going on about, I saw these croc men, but he said they weren't tall. He said a couple were about 5 foot, one was about 5'5", and the tallest one he saw was about 6'8", and that one he said would usually gesture would come to the underground, I guess, because he said they literally dug themselves underground. He said they would eat moles with their whole mouths wide open. And he said, like that movie with the reptilians in it. And he kept saying this, so he had a picture, but he couldn't get the whole full frame. It looked like, it's like he got the tail of it. It looked like a mole tail. It didn't look like a lizard tail. He said some look like lizards, some look like giant rats. And you couldn't tell with the picture what it was because it was so blurry. And no one believed him because he said other stuff that no one believed. And then the day after he would say this, Men in Black would show up. And it reminds me of a video Sheila did about the reptilian. His mom, one of his people he talks to, one of them grandmothers. And that's not the first time I heard about lizard people, right? My experience with reptilians is I never seen any but where I used to, there's a river out where I live at, and people talk about seeing giant catfish walk out the water with like feet. Or they said one man said he seen a giant alligator man come out the river, and he ran to the police station. I believe my dad was telling me the story about that. Once I get more information, because most of the stuff I know, it's just I'm having a memory block, but I'll send most of the other stuff when I can. Shalom.